Welcome to Jablam Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Wojciechowski, and I am with
Conner Rowntree.
You can find us on Twitter at jablamhockey.com, but of course, us personally, for myself again, at Russian98. And Conner, yours is?
At the Sport Tree.
And of course, you guys know, check us out on our website, jablamhockey.com. And let's get Conner to introduce himself a little bit because he's new to the show.
Hi guys, well, I'm very excited to be welcome to this team. I signed as a free agent in the off season, a kid that just loves hockey. Don't ask me what my favorite team is though, because one, my friends will kick the crap out of me because I don't have one, and two, let's just go with I'm a fan of the game.
So when I do something like this and you see a big Blackhawks logo on there, is that just
Bandwagoner.
just ruining your hair, of course?
Bandwagoner.
Bandwagoner. So when did you start being a Blackhawks fan? Is that like the day after you knew Kane and Taves were going to Chicago?
Well, actually, it was something like that. Actually, my dad played for the Chicago Bears way back when, so I had the ties to Chicago.
Nice.
And always loved the city, loved the team, and it's actually nice that they're good because I may not be the biggest bandwagoner with them.
Yeah. I knew, you can fix your hat if you want, I knew Kane and Taves would be good, so I went to the first game of Patrick Kane, and Taves was injured, so he didn't get to start the season with the Hawks in that opener, Red Wings versus the Hawks in the United Center. And it was fabulous, and of course it was a close game. I think the Hawks might have came back, and then in overtime, nothing happened. It was resolved in a shootout by Showtime. Patrick Kane with the winner in the shootout. Amazing. He's amazing, and he keeps on surprising us. I'm still surprised that Kane was able to take that jump to superstar level.
I mean, I'm not really the guy. His size and his vision is what makes him so great. It's like you can see the entire ice, and his size actually helps him being under 6 feet because he can slip around those tight checks. He's so quick on his skates, and he always has his head up. So I actually wasn't super surprised that he made that jump, but for him to be outscoring the best in the league, he's pretty darn good.
So again, if you're finally noticing this, all of this, what? I'm not on audio only anymore, my ugly mug? Yes, this year we are doing the YouTube and podcast thing, so you can still find us on iTunes, Jablam Hockey there, and now on YouTube as well. Same thing, Jablam Hockey. Check us out, and again, on jablamhockey.com, you can go there, click on our episodes, so you'll find our episodes, hopefully in YouTube and podcast format. And again, down below that, you'll see the description and our game notes. It will be on the same page. Before on our website, it was on a separate page, but you can follow us along with all the weird, cool things, especially that we're going to be talking soon in Trending Now. They're going to be in there. So go check out our game notes. You'll see little snippets or tweets or things that we mentioned in the episode, so you can follow us along on our website as well, and our game notes on our episode pages. All right, what do we have this episode? We are team isoing the Vancouver Canucks, and again, our old friend Rob Williams is going to join us. He was there last year. He is, of course, the Daily Hive sports editor. And then we will be doing some big NHL season predictions. And then we'll end up, maybe, if we have time, with some fantasy up and down. But first, Trending Now. Wow. The Blues. They are in some deep trouble.
Yeah, no, they're definitely in some deep trouble, especially down the middle of the ice.
Yes. Robby Fabbri is now said that he is done completely for the entire season. He had off-season injury on his knee, but they said there's no way. They're shutting him down for the complete year. And you said they're pretty much depleted in center. So they've already got Jay Bouwmeester, maybe going to miss a month or so. And then, of course, who else plays center for them?
Oh, you got a guy, a little known, Alex Steen. He's pretty good.
Yeah, so he's one of their top, centers, and he's gone.
And their ace face-off man.
Yeah,
Berglund. That's
Berglund's going to be gone till December.
Yeah, so if you're a Blues fan, have fun.
We'll be talking about our predictions in a bit. Guess who decided to pick St. Louis to be in the top of the division? So, yeah, maybe I was not counting on a few of these guys being injured. So, it sucks for the Blues. And I'm a huge Blues fan because I love their two-way play. But it's going to be rough if Barbashev is their main center.
Yeah, no, it's tough sledding. But Jake Allen, Colton Parayko, they'll still be able to keep the puck out of the net. It's just, can they put the puck into the net?
You can't put it all on the Tarasenko show. And sometimes they do that. And,
It could be the Tara Tank show without any center support.
Ooh, yeah. All right. What's going on in Ottawa?
Well, Sens fans, we got some interesting news. I don't know if it's good, and I don't know if it's bad. Your captain, Erik Karlsson, don't know if you heard of him. He leaked to the media this past Wednesday that during his ankle surgery in the offseason, they actually removed half of his ankle bone. So I've had a bruised ankle. That's tough to walk on. This guy is going to actually try to skate without half of an ankle. And not only that, he was supposed to be back for December. Now they're saying he'll be back by the start of October. This guy is not human. Not human on the ice. He's got Wolverine healing powers. It's crazy.
That is outstanding. Again, he is the heart and soul of the Senators. And I don't expect them to win many games with him out of the lineup. But being able to come back this quickly and this fast is insane.
Yeah, well, we've seen this before from Erik Karlsson back when he had a 70% tear in his Achilles, and he returned to the ice 2 months ahead of schedule then. Well, if you do the math, December, 2 months, no, that's the start of October. So, I mean, this guy, he's got something going on. I guess he eats his Wheaties.
Maybe he's got the magic pill. All right. And then last but not least, it's all over the place, and we kind of want to talk about it. The whole sports scandal with politics and Mr. Orange Face, people like to call him, maybe? I don't know.
Donald Trump.
Yes. So, what did the Pittsburgh Penguins do? What? They the next day, this is the thing that I find odd. The next day, after all this thing explodes all over the place, that player like Trump goes and he says, these guys should be fired if they're not going to stand for the country and the flag. And they're just using it as a place and a moment to stand for what they believe in. And then that happened. So basically he shunned the Golden State Warriors.
Yep, that was. Yep.
And then the NFL players. And then the next day, by saying that the Golden State Warriors aren't invited at all to the White House, the next day, the Pittsburgh Penguins say, we're going to the White House. Bad timing.
And then the day after that, oddly enough, the Pittsburgh Steelers, all but one of their players, a former Army Ranger, stayed in the locker room. So Pittsburgh, more like Splitsburg right now.
Puns are sharp today.
Okay. So yeah, all over the league, in the NHL, everybody's been talking about it. Our good friends, even on TSN, Bob McKenzie has had a good, thing to say about it. But Joel Ward he's been told the media at least that he's thinking about taking a knee at the next, probably a preseason game.
And then on the other side, you have Austin Matthews of the Maple Leafs who says he will not take a knee and will always stand for the national anthem.
And then in Nashville, PK Subban and his teammates, he said, will stand together united. So it's being trickled down everywhere. But I would like to add that, do you think Donald Trump is the Dark Knight?
I don't know. I just
why
hockey sports is supposed to be an escape from politics.
Yeah.
Hockey especially, such a great game, and this has nothing to do with hockey. This was an attack at NFL players, and then Steph Curry specifically on the Warriors, and now it's just transferring over into hockey. The good news is that sports is uniting us all, and it's keeping us all sane. The bad news is there's some issues below the border.
Yeah. I was saying, I don't know, is Donald Trump trying to be a Dark Knight in terms of being the bad guy so he can unite all of us, the rest of us, smart people
No.
together? No? You don't
No.
think so?
No, I don't
And then
think
maybe Bernie Sanders is the Joker.
Okay, well now you just lost. Bernie
Anyways.
Sanders, the Joker.
But what I did want to say, and I've been saying for a few years, even before all these politics involved, maybe it's time, and I'm a huge old school fan of standing for your country, the anthem, taking off your hat, which I hate doing because I'm bald, and I love singing, and I love singing for my anthem, even the American anthem. But maybe it's time that we remove the anthem from things like pro sports. Why is the anthem in pro sports?
Well, I like how they do it at the international hockey level. The two teams that go out, they play, no national anthems before, and then they play the team that wins. You get your national anthem play at the end of the game.
You deserve the national anthem only if you win. So, if Team USA won the game, would they want the anthem then?
Couple knees.
We won. We're taking a knee. All right, time for this week's Team ISO. And again, like the last few seasons, this is where we specifically talk about one team. This week in our first episode, we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks, and we have our great guest again in Vancouver. It's Rob Williams, and you can find him on Twitter. Let me check again here. At Rob the Hockey Guy on Twitter. And of course, he is the Daily Hive sports editor. Rob, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here, Peter. Thanks.
Cool. I'm glad you're here with us in this new transition of ours, so bear with us if there's any problems or anything. But let's get into it. The Canucks. Let's just go in straight to see what your prediction is.
I predict not as bad as last year.
Okay.
And that's a low bar.
Yeah.
They finished second last in the regular season. Only Colorado, who had one of the worst seasons in years, finished below them.
Yeah.
But I think they're starting to trend in the right direction finally. This was a team that really was kind of in denial about who they were and where they were trying to get. So, gone are Alex Burrows, Yannick Hansen, very useful players, but this team needed to get younger.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see a push now from some of the younger players. Now, while at the same time, some of the older players are now getting on in years. So Henrik and Daniel Sedin, last year their contracts, this could be their last season. They turned 37 yesterday. So they're getting up in years. It'll be interesting to see how they play. And then, of course, the likes of Bo Horvat coming in and potentially taking another step.
Yeah. You totally stepped on my first question, because I was going to ask you, when are the Sedins basically the main players you think coming into the season? And I guess you're thinking already that this is the season that they'll probably pass the torch?
Yeah, I mean, arguably they passed the torch last year.
Okay.
Horvat led the team in scoring. He's the first player not named Sedin to lead the team in scoring in over 10 years.
Wow.
Now, he did that with getting second, third-line minutes, second power play unit. Sedin still got the bulk of the first-line minutes and the first-unit power play time. They had a down year, so it'll be interesting to see now. They've got a new coach. Travis Green is taking over from Willie Desjardins.
Yeah, it sounded like he wanted to kick him in the ass pretty bad with a few of the comments that he made towards them.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I mean, he's more of a straight shooter.
Okay.
Especially compared to Willie Desjardins. Willie Desjardins was really kind of never really said anything.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody played real good. If you played poorly, you just played good. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Travis Green's not going to sugarcoat it. He's going to come in, and I think he's going to really play these players more on a meritocracy. So it'll be interesting to see. Do the Sedins keep their spot on the top line? How long is the leash?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be really interesting to see. I do think that the Canucks are going to have four decent lines, though. They're going to have their fourth line potentially could have Alex Burmistrov on it right now. Could even potentially have a player like either a Brandon Sutter or Thomas Vanek. There's going to be a player on their fourth line. As long as everyone stays healthy, I think that is going to strongly think that they are a top 9 player playing on the line.
Wow, that's actually interesting. I totally even forgot about Vanek when I was thinking about the offseason additions. Do you like the offseason that they had? Because last season was very peculiar, especially signing a guy like Eriksson to that contract. But at least this year, it seemed like they went out and signed guys that have to prove themselves a bit in terms of getting there. Especially with maybe a guy like on the back end, there might be some holes, and they go in and get Del Zotto. Do you like that signing? I don't know. I'm kind of still questioning in my mind.
Not a fan.
Not a fan. There you go.
Yeah, no, I think with everything the Canucks do, whenever they're making moves, you have to ask yourself, do you want them to win or do you want them to tank?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want them to tank, then I think the moves they made were not good moves because they've improved their team. Now, they didn't bring on a bunch of albatross contracts like Louis Eriksson's is going to be and probably already is.
Yeah.
Eriksson had a disaster of a first year in Vancouver. He signed a 6-year deal, so they're anchored to him for a while. I do think Eriksson is a better player than what he showed. I think he'll have a better year his second year in Vancouver, just like when he went to Boston. He had a terrible year in Boston and bounced back. So I do think that we're going to see a little bit of that, but still, he's too old. He's on the wrong side of 30 for a rebuilding team, and they signed him for 6 years. So I think that's really an issue. The players they brought in this time, Sam Gagner was signed to a 3-year deal. That's the longest term deal they had. Everybody else is signed to 2 or 1-year deals. These are going to be players that are not going to be in their late 30s, but at the end of their deals or anything like that. So these are going to be players that are going to become assets to them. If these are indeed good signings, I think that works for them. I think Michael Delzato is an excellent signing for them. I think they need to solidify their back end. This gives them another defenseman, whereas last year they were really susceptible that if Edler or Tanev got injured, and they both were injured for significant periods of time, the wheels fell apart. So I think Delzato, if nothing else, he's a capable NHL defenseman that can potentially play on. It remains to be seen if he's going to play in their top 4. It might be number 5 defenseman. At least gives them some options. And gives another veteran presence to a couple of their younger defensemen. Troy Stecher had an excellent rookie season last year. Ben Hutton had a bit of a sophomore jinx year with the Canucks, but he had an excellent rookie year 2 years ago, so they're going to hope that he bounces back as well.
Nice. Connor, go ahead.
Well, my question is more from the back end. We've talked about the front 9, and it's got to start in the crease for me. I think entering this season, there's not a Canuck that's more important or one with a bigger question mark surrounding him than Jacob Markstrom. Obviously, they acquired him in the Roberto Luongo trade. Now with Ryan Miller moving on to Anaheim to back up John Gibson, how do you see Markstrom taking the starting role? Do you see him grabbing the reins, or do you think he could slip up even more?
Yeah, no, you know what? I think Markstrom in the last couple of years has shown himself well. I think he's been close to that level that Ryan Miller was at. Depending on how you look at it, he was the backup. He didn't play as often, so he had to come out of mothballs sometimes and perform well. Well, at the same time, he's never had the job in the everyday number 1 goalie. Excuse me. They do have Anders Nilsson, who they signed from Buffalo, so he's kind of going to come in. They're the same age. They're both giant Swedish goaltenders. I think what Green is going to do there is going to be similar to what I said before with a bit of a meritocracy. I think whoever plays well is going to play. So I think there's not the pressure on Markstrom, say if they had come in and said, he's our guy. They haven't said that. They've said that whoever's playing best is going to play. And it's an open competition. So I think Markstrom, honestly, I like what I see from him. He's played excellent preseason so far. I remember watching him at the World Cup of Hockey last year in Toronto, and he came up against the Russians when Lundqvist was injured and played excellent. So I think Markstrom has the ability, we've seen it at least in small dosages, to be a very capable goaltender. If he can translate that to more games, more of a 45, 50 games in a season, I think he's a capable number 1 goalie for them.
Well, so if he's the present looking towards the future, the Canucks have a player, goaltender Thatcher Demko. He was the staple point of Boston College's back end over the last few seasons. Last year, obviously, he played in Utica. Didn't have great success in his first year, but that was the same thing at Boston College. He improved each season while he was there. Going into this season, do you think Demko is going to really grab the bull by the horns and take control of that crease in Utica? And then how long do you think before he'll be suited up for the Canucks?
Yeah, I think that's the hope. I think Demko is gonna. I mean, he had like you said, he had his first year in Utica. Had some bumps, I think, but I think largely was a good season for him. The AHL is not an easy league. It's especially not an easy league when you had the farm team that the Canucks had down there. I mean, there wasn't much in Vancouver. There also wasn't much in Utica to start with. That was a pretty bare team. And then the Canucks had a ton of injuries. The whole team got the mumps in the year. So they had players. So that was, on most nights, not a very good Utica Comets team in front of him. I thought he did well, all things considered. Had some good stretches as well where he really kind of stood on his head for the Comets. It remains to be seen. He's got the pedigree from college, and I think he should take the next step. And then from there, I think next year he's probably maybe pushing on the cusp. And I think it's probably going to be a couple of years before we'll see him starting to play in the NHL on a regular basis.
Well, another guy that's surely a couple of years away, Elias Pettersson. Now, the 5th overall pick of the 2017 draft, last year played in the second-tier league in Sweden, posting 41 points in just 48 games. He's expected to make the jump into the Swedish Elite League this season. Where do you see him in the point numbers this year in the Swedish Elite League, and how long before you think you can see him in a Canucks jersey?
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy to ask for Swedish Elite League point projections, but I expect him to take the next step as well. So, Pettersson is an interesting pick. It was criticized by a few people in the media here. I think a lot of people were expecting them to take Cody Glass from the Portland Winterhawks. They didn't. They went with Pettersson. The thing I like about Pettersson is he's a skilled player. The only knock against him was that he's very slight. I mean, he is a skinny guy, but he's got a frame. He's not short. He's a tall guy. He's going to fill in. That's something that you can teach, right? You can get him to eat more. You can get him to put more pounds on. What you can't teach is skill, and he's got that in spades. So I think that was a nice pick by the Canucks. I think there's a lot of potential there, and really what they need to find soon, because Henrik sitting in the last year of his his last season in the NHL, and Bo Horvat is not necessarily pegged as a future number one center, probably a very nice number two center. Is they need a number one center of the future. So I think Elias Pettersson is definitely the closest thing the Canucks have to that, and I think probably a decent bet to one day become that for the Canucks.
Well, someone a little closer than one day is Brock Boeser. Now, this is a great story. I found this absolutely fascinating. The guy finishes his collegiate career, less than 24 hours of stepping off the ice, has signed his entry-level contract with the Canucks. And then his very first game with the Canucks, scores his first goal in the NHL, ended up playing 9 games last year, 4 goals, 1 assist. What impact do you think he'll have this season in the big league?
Yeah, I mean, there's Canucks fans are very excited about Brock Boeser, and I think for very good reason. This guy looks like an NHL player right now. He's been very impressive in preseason. I think he still leads the NHL in goals in preseason right now, and he's been doing that with the rookies and the younger players because most of the veteran players went over to China to play those games against the LA Kings. So he's shown himself to be extremely good so far. Just has that great shot, that great kind of knack for scoring goals. He just looks like an NHL goal scorer right now. One of the big worries, as I jump back to all the signings that the Canucks made in the offseason, was a big worry once they signed Thomas Vanek that Brock Boeser might not be able to make the team this year. Vanek was kind of the, I guess, 9th top 9 player that they signed, and that's not counting Burmistrov. And then Boeser was on top of that. So I think there was a lot of people kind of being a little worried coming into preseason. But Boeser, I think, has given the Canucks no choice. He's absolutely just bulldozes his way through and just screams NHL player. There's no way they can send him to the minors. There'll be a mini revolt in Vancouver if that happens.
I don't think they do mini revolts in Vancouver.
Top 9 role. I think he needs to be in a scoring role. This could be a Calder Trophy winner this year. So people are very excited about him.
He's got potential. And before we leave, 2 quick short questions. I'm a big fan of Olli Juolevi. Do you see him getting a chance quickly to get on the roster this year or no?
You know, it's going to be tough with Juolevi. He hasn't shown a great deal. I mean, you've probably seen him more in junior than I have.
Yeah, for the Knights.
But, you know, his hockey DB, and, you know, my little hockey DB analysis on him did not really bode well for his second season. Mm-hmm. You know, he was admittedly, you know, coming in, he's pegged as a Dan Hamhuis type, but not a very flashy player. So it's hard to get a read on those kinds of players.
Yeah.
So far preseason, he hasn't looked very good, though, to be honest. I don't think, based on merit, I don't think he makes the team. For him, it's either Europe, OHL, or he's got to be in the NHL. So I think there's a possibility that they keep him around to play the 9 games and then maybe send him to go play in Finland. But otherwise, I think his play so far is not deemed him worthy of being on an NHL roster.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be hard for them to put him into the lineup and sit one of these veteran defensemen. I think we're going to see him go back to Finland, where to play under assistant coach Sami Salo, a former Canuck, who's also going to be on the Finland World Junior team. So I think we're going to see Juolevi go back to Finland rather than back to the London Knights.
Cool.
And do that.
All right, and before we wrap you up, how many points do you think the Canucks will finish with this season?
Oh boy, how many did they get last year?
How many, Connor? Connor, what's your number?
This year I gotta go. I'm going 82 points. Well, they'll get a point per game.
82 points. Rob?
Yeah.
Your counter?
You know what? I think they're going to be. As I do my quick little analysis here.
Yeah.
Let's say 84. I'll be a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah. I'm also thinking just about 85, 84, 85. All right, Rob. Again, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for bearing with us on our first episode here, hopefully on YouTube and everything, if it goes well. Again, you can find Rob on Twitter at Rob the Hockey Guy. That's ROB THEHOCKEYGUY, and hopefully we have a graphic for you popping up on the screen right now. We'll see. And again, you're at the sports editor for the Daily Hive. Rob, thanks for coming on the show. And again, we will put this all on our website on jablamhockey.com. Click on the episode, and underneath, under game notes, we'll have Rob's contact info. Again, Rob, thanks for coming. Now it's time for our NHL season predictions. We're gonna, you know what? We're gonna try to, if we have time, to name a couple of things. We have a blog attached on our website, jablamhockey.com. Check out our top player picks, our guys that we think are going to step up or step down, and top prospects. So we're going to only go through one per team. And let's start going west. At the bottom, our picks, and you know me, I like doing everything from behind. So from the bottom is the Vegas Golden Knights. Connor?
That's 100% in the bank. I think Peter and I are both taking Vegas in the bottom, and if you're not, then you clearly don't watch enough hockey. They have no depth. They have Marc-Andre Fleury between the pipes, who I believe is their best player. But beyond that, they're going to really need a lot of production from James Neal.
Yeah. In terms of top players, that would you pick James Neal?
I think the best player, top player, I think I got to go Marc-Andre Fleury. I think he's their only chance to win any games this year. If Fleury is off even 1%. If he's at 99%, they will not win.
Yeah, I think I as well picked Fleury as my top player for that team, and I still think he has a lot left in that tank, and he'll be good for them for how long he has left on that contract. So as goes Fleury, as goes Golden Knights, specifically if they can get any win together, it'll be on the back of Fleury. All right, what is that? 1, 2, 3, seventh place team in the division of the Pacific?
Well, we talked about them earlier tonight. The Vancouver Canucks. I do not see the Canucks producing enough points to make them into the playoffs yet, or out of the basement in the league, pardon me. I think their best player this year, well, look no further than maybe Jacob Markstrom. Yikes.
Wow. That's my player to step up is Jacob Markstrom. When he was drafted, he was touted as the next big NHL goaltender to be in the league. He never really took that mental. He didn't get that flow in Florida. Hopefully now with Vancouver, and now that Miller is gone, he gets that full opportunity, and maybe he's a bit more seasoned now, so he can be a number one top goaltender in the NHL.
I mean, the Canucks must have seen something in him when they traded Roberto Luongo for him. So, I mean, he has the potential. We'll just see if he can string it out for a full season as a starter.
So, yeah, that was my pick as well for Team 7 in the Pacific. Next, my Team 6 in the Pacific are the Desert Dogs, Arizona Coyotes. Connor, you pick Arizona to drop there or no?
No, I got LA dropping. I got LA dropping low.
All right, let's go with LA.
Well, their best player, you got to start with their captain, Anze Kopitar. If he can produce, if he can see the ice and pass the puck to guys like Tyler Toffoli and guys like Drew Doughty, then they should be okay. My step-up player is Drew Doughty. I think Doughty's got to come back and have a big rebound season. Last year was definitely his worst year in the league, both statistically and if you just watch the Kings play. He looked out of place all year long. So I think Drew Doughty's got to step up big time for this Kings team.
He was my top player pick because, of course, an ex-Norris winner, and yeah, he had an off season, so you would expect a little bit of rebound. And again, I had the Kings in that upper position over the Coyotes.
Yep, and then I have the Coyotes over the Kings. So moving into those Desert Dogs.
That 5-6 spot, I got LA 5, Coyotes 6. You have Coyotes 5, LA 6. Coyotes, I think they're turning a corner, and their top prospect is Clayton Keller. That's what I picked. I think a lot of people are looking at him, expecting a lot. And is there talk about him being a potential Calder winner? Is he a candidate? I think he's a candidate. I think, and then later on in the season, they've got some decent prospects with Dvorak and Strome and even Chychrun. But Keller is one.
I got Strome. I think he's fast. I think he's got a good head for the game, just like his brother, and I think he can put up some serious points when he gets the opportunity. I don't know if he'll get it this season, but my best player on that team got to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He's the anchor of that defense, and he's going to get a little help from Swedish countryman Nick Hjalmarsson this year. So I expect big things out of Oliver Ekman-Larsson this season.
So you're taking the Coyotes taking a few steps up with the few additions of the young GM Chaika doing there. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And again, yeah, I'm a huge fan of OEL, watching him since junior hockey in champions. He's so underrated. He's such a good on that back end.
I just think he's underrated because of where he plays. I think if a bigger fan base and more people got to watch him play on a consistent basis, you'd understand how good this guy really is. Possibly one of the best Swedish defensemen we've seen in this generation.
So right after Nick Lidstrom.
Yeah, I'd put him right up there. I really would.
Yeah. Cool. All right. My fourth pick in the division are the San Jose Sharks. You know what?
Shark Tank. Yep, I'm right there with you, Peter.
We can go any way, but I think I'd like to talk about Logan Couture. I'm not a huge fan of him. I think he really kind of struggled last year. He does remind me of Napoleon Dynamite a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the way he skates sometimes, geez, falls all over the ice, catches edges like a guy I've never seen before. Is that your step-up player or your best player?
That's my step-up player. I think he has to rebound from what he did last season, especially in the playoffs. I think he had a bit of a lingering injury because he disappeared for them, and he usually does step up in the playoffs.
Yes, well, I think if you look at it from a step-up point of view and you want someone to step up in the playoffs, it's got to be your captain. And my step-up player is Joel Pavelski. He's got to take control of this team and lead them. It's been so many years now. over the last decade, how close have the Sharks gotten and not made it? They got Brent Burns on the back end. Martin Jones is a solid goaltender. This team should make some serious strides this year, but Joe Pavelski has got to step up.
All right. Who's your number 3 in the division?
Number 3 for me is the Calgary Flames, and I made it rhyme. And honestly, when it comes to the Calgary Flames, players taking a step down for me. I'm going to change it up this time. Is TJ Brody. I don't think TJ Brody. I think he really broke onto the scene nicely in Calgary. I think with the additions of Dougie Hamilton last year, I think his ice time is going to drop, and I don't see him keeping up to that standard where we've seen him as a solid 3-4 defenseman.
Mm-hmm. My player to step down is Chris Versteeg, a.k.a. Verbeauty. He looked pretty good for the Flames last year. In a season where, again, they expect to maybe make the playoffs, maybe not, get barely in there. Versteeg had a good, solid season. I think they're going to give more minutes to the younger guys. Kachuk's going to get more minutes.
Love watching that guy play.
So Verbeauty's going to slip down the depth chart, and he's getting a bit older now, so he's not going to get some of those bigger minutes. So we'll see what happens with the Flames, but they're exciting to watch. I love watching.
Peter, who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I have, of course, the Quack Pack, the Flying V, the Anaheim Ducks.
That's your number 2.
Yeah.
Well, I have that as my number 1 team, and that means you must have the Oilers at number 1 because they're my number 2.
Yep, exactly. So let's go into the Ducks first. I don't know. I'm going to go right here with the prospect that everybody's kind of interested about and who played outstanding for Team USA at the World Juniors. Some amazing showtime, and he was counted upon time and time again to score big goals in the shootout. That was, of course, Troy Terry. I think he has a chance to hit this lineup and make a big leap and be that, guy that can be flashy and score some big goals for them.
Well, my most interesting storyline about this team, not a prospect, but my step-up player, he's got to be John Gibson. He's now got a solid backup goaltender behind him, and Ryan Miller. I think that'll give him a lot less anxiety knowing that he's got a guy he can take a night off. He's got someone really solid behind him like he did when it was him and Frederik Andersen out in Anaheim. So I really think John Gibson will step up in a huge way for this Ducks team. Don't be surprised if he gets his name thrown into that Vezina hat.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my hot take for the night.
Hot take, Vezina, Gibson. Wow, okay. Now let's go with Oilers. My number 1 pick is number 2 for the Pacific Division. And I want to go with a player who is still going to step up, and that's Leon the Professional. The German assassin, as I like to call him, or some people like to call him the German Gretzky, Leon Draisaitl. Call him whatever you want, but he's the next big 1-2 punch. In Pittsburgh, you have Sidney, and you have Evgeny Malkin. In Edmonton, you have the amazing Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. He was amazing last year. He was outstanding in the playoffs, took it to another level. I think he's going to keep taking it to another level, even during the season, and be a top player in the league.
I agree with you, and because I agree with you, I think he'll move into that second center spot nicely. I think they'll take him actually off McDavid's wing this year, and because of that, I'm actually going to move into my step-down player, and that's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Because of how good Draisaitl has been, like Peter said, he's just going to see less ice time on that third line.
All right, that's the Pacific. Again, go to our website. We have a lot written down on all our picks for every division. You'll see where we slotted all the teams, and again, our top prospects, our top players. And let's go with the Central now. Who else doesn't have the Avalanche in that last spot in the division?
So many distractions off the ice with Matt Duchene. Joe Sakic does not look like he knows what he's doing, point blank. And so I think the only positive thing that we can talk about is their step-up player. And for that, I'm taking Tyson Jost. I think the kid is going to have an impact knowing that Duchene is probably on his way out. Jost is a centerman like Duchene. He can slide in there nicely, both young, skilled guys. So I like Tyson Jost to have a nice step-up season.
Yeah, a lot of distractions during camp, but nice distractions is the signing of Alex Kerfoot out of college. And Jost does look very good. He's fast and he understands the game well. So he is my top prospect for the Avalanche to step up, and he's looking good in camp so far. Next, who's your team? What is it, 7?
Benny and the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the Jets coming back this season. I know they added Steve Mason between the pipes, but is that really that much of a step up from Andre Pavlik? I really don't think so. And if you wanted to break it down, best player, well, Patrick Laine.
Yeah, that's straight up exactly what I was going to say. Team 7, Jets, top player, Patrick Laine. Is he even more of a pure sniper than Alexander Ovechkin?
I don't think you could say that yet. I think he has the potential to be. Some of the goals he scored last year, especially that first game against the Maple Leafs when he had something to prove against Austin Matthews. That was absolutely ridiculous. But to put him beyond Ovi yet, I don't think he's. Once he spins on his back and scores on Cujo, then he can do that. Got to go to the beer league to try that out, though.
All right, my team. Oh, it's 5. It would be 5. Is the Dallas Stars. A lot of question marks. I didn't know where to put them because they've added Ben Bishop.
Exactly it.
They've added, of course, Radulov. A few big pieces. Martin Hansel, good depth center. So there's a lot of additions. But sometimes I feel when you add too many changes, it's hard to bring the team together. So they will struggle in the first half. Hopefully teams they can pull together and get the team together. But I kind of doubt it, and that's why I have them so low. And top prospect, of course, is Julius Honka for me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Great. The Finnish offensive defenseman is finally going to get a full season play with the Stars. And if he gets some time on the power play, he'll show you.
Oh, look at that.
He'll show you how to quarterback a power play.
Well, to be honest with you, I actually had the Stars up a position over Peter. I had the Blues down near the basement in this division for the sole purpose. Look at how many injuries they have. We talked about it at the start of the show. They are injury-ridden, and I don't think with that lack of depth at center that they just won't have the puck enough. They're going to lose faceoffs, lose the possession battles. Jake Allen can't stop everything, and when you're losing faceoffs, that means the puck's going to be in your zone an awful lot, and just there's not going to be enough support.
Yeah, I had them first. I forgot about the injuries.
That is
I forgot about the injuries, but I do find that the Blues are a very good regular season team.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, even, they're passing on the torch from Hitchcock to Yo. He's still a great coach. They have a good system in place. They all play the system very well. I still think Jake Allen now, in his second season, he'll be even more comfortable in that starting role. And a player, I want to talk about Tarasenko, but I will talk about the player who I think will step up, and it's Braden Shen. He's on a new team. I think he's going to be utilized a little bit more offensively than more of a checking line center than he was more in Philly, because he'll put up some good numbers. And if he gets to play once in a while with a guy like Tarasenko, he'll get a lot more points than he's used to.
Yeah, well, my step-up player is Jake Allen because he, as you said, he's second year going in as a starter. He had some rough patches last year. Without a doubt, he went on a 2-month streak where he was averaging over 4 goals against per game. That's not so good from an NHL starter, if you didn't know. So I think Jake Allen's going to have to step up in a big way if the Blues want to make the playoffs this season.
All right. My team 4 in the Central are the Minnesota Wild. You know what? There's too many teams competing. Few teams are moving up. We'll talk about soon with the Predators. So I think the Wild are going to drop somewhere in the middle there. And my step down, shockingly, is Devin Dubnyk.
Dude?
Yes, because he shockingly came out of nowhere to be a top goaltender in the NHL. He's shown that he can do it, but how long can he last being that top goaltender in NHL? I
have a different view. He was drafted to be the Oilers' next number 1 guy.
Yeah.
He got thrown into a tough situation. He was a first round pick, pardon me.
Yeah.
Led Team Canada to a gold medal at the World Juniors. I think he's great. I think Devin Dubnyk will be absolutely fine. And not only that, I actually have him as my step-up player because I think if Minnesota wants to push into the playoffs and push deeper into the playoffs, pardon me, they're going to have to rely on number 40, Devin Dubnyk, so he's going to have to step up.
And did you see him step up well in the playoffs? No, not so much.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to have to take that step up.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that might hurt his gameplay starting into the season with how he played in the playoffs.
well, we'll just have to wait and see, Peter.
We will. All right. Is that who's your number 4?
So my number actually coming in there was the Predators. I had them down, dropping a bit. Obviously, they went to the Cup final last year, but a new captain in Roman Josi. You got to say goodbye to Mike Fisher. That guy was the heart and soul. Carrie Underwood was always at every game. You won't have that this year. So the camaraderie around that team might be dropping down a bit, but for the step-up purposes, Roman Josi, the new captain, that guy's a phenomenal defenseman. He will step up big time for this club.
There you go. I'm a huge fan of Yoshi and his eggs. Nintendo reference. Brent, our producer, will love that. Thanks, Brent. Big ups to my your new YouTube producer, Brent Huckfield. But you know what? I enjoyed watching the Predators' defense and how they played. But I don't know what's going to happen next for them. So I'm going to go with a step down, and it's Ryan Ellis. He took a huge step up last year. So I'm expecting him to slightly go down. Guys like Subban and others were injured. So he got more time, he got more experience, and he won't get as much that this season.
Especially like with guys like Ekholm on the back end.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good D, and I just feel that Ellis might just get less minutes this season, so he won't put up big numbers as he did last year. All right, we've only got a bit less time, so let's round up, and we will do the Eastern Conference next episode. But let's finish up. So that was Nashville. I got Chicago. I had Nashville in the second spot, actually. So we are totally reversing this.
Oh, well, this is whoever wins this Central Division, the loser's going to have to do something outrageous. You're going to have to wear like a Habs jersey.
For sure. Check out next week. Also, we will be doing our first friendly bet of the season, and we'll be doing some wacky stuff. So check that out. But my number 3 pick was Chicago. You had Chicago number 2 then?
No, I had Chicago at number 1. I think the
go.
Hawks, they've owned the Central Division for so long now. They won it last year despite not having it at the start of the season. And I think with the addition of bringing Brendan Saad back into the team, bringing Patrick Sharp back into the team, plus you have Patrick Kane, you have a solid defensive core. I just think there's too many question marks in the Central Division, but not question marks on the Blackhawks. That's why I have them at my number 1.
I still think a few of the changes. I don't know how much Sharp is going to bring back to the team. I don't know if Ladd should fit well, but then what are they going to do with the 1-2 punch? Host is gone. You know, Halmerson is gone. I love Halmerson. Oh. So underrated. So there's a few new holes, and they already had holes on defense. And they collapsed and fell apart in the playoffs when everything wasn't clicking at all. So they've got a few more holes, and that's why I think they'll drop 1 or 2 notches lower. But hopefully you get to see my top prospect, Alex DeBrincat. The Cat was outstanding in the OHL for Erie last season. 65 goals, 127 points. He is a diminutive forward, but is amazing. And maybe he could follow in the footsteps of a Patrick Kane. So I hope he does get to play for the Hawks, because I think they still need to fill in some roles offensively.
Well, prospect-wise, I'm going to look a little more into the future. I'm going to look at Northeastern's top forward, arguably top forward this year, Dylan Sekura. Stan Bowman said it during training camp that this kid has shocked him and the team and was one of their best producers during camp. So I would look out for Dylan Sekura in a few years from now.
Nice. And then I think we've done everybody on the division, right?
Yeah.
So I picked St. Louis 1, Nashville 2, Chicago 3, Minnesota 4, and your top 4 again?
Hawks 1, Wild 2, Preds 3, Stars 4.
So again, go on jablamhockey.com, check out the blogs, the joint blog between Connor and I for our NHL predictions. The West one will drop hopefully as soon as this episode you're watching is on, so go check it out. And we will do the Eastern Conference predictions next episode. Check that out. Connor, do you have a few fantasy tip picks for some fans who are doing some fantasy picking this coming weekend?
For sure, and everyone is asking around hockey, Crosby or McDavid. Well, it's this simple. If you want to build a team to win a Stanley Cup right now, you'd want Sidney Crosby to be your captain. If you're trying to win $50 or $100 in your fantasy league, you want Connor McDavid. He's got the speed, he's got the shot, he's got the prowess in the offensive end, and I really like McDavid to go plus 100 points this season.
So who are your top 5? For points wise, I'm actually thinking Malkin might go up. I'm thinking he might be in the top 3. McDavid, Crosby. Who's maybe your 4th, 5th guy? I have Kane dropping out of the top 5.
Well, I actually had something very similar. I had Tarasenko up there, pardon me, but I'm going to have to pull him out now without the center support and reinsert Kane back into the top 5 because I think Kane will have a good season this year with the Hawks. I think he'll bounce back nicely and score a lot of goals.
All right. And that's it for this episode of Jablam Hockey. Again, go to our website that's on our Twitter account, at Jablam Hockey, website jablamhockey.com. Our new episodes are appearing there. We're on YouTube as well now. Please hashtag JHockey. So JHockey, that's of course the J stands for Jablam. Hashtag us, talk about us. We put polls on our Twitter account at Jablam Hockey, of course, there. So go vote on our polls. We'll talk about them, and we might even have some of your questions on the show. And of course, next episode we'll have a new team, ISO. We'll do the NHL predictions for the Eastern Conference and the return of Saturday's picks. We might talk about which teams we're going to be picking on Saturday.
Love that.
All right, again, if you haven't, rate, subscribe, review us on iTunes. Our podcast is still there, and we will see you guys all next week.